Hello again, Gotham. It's been a long time. So who are you these days? Who have you become while I was gone? You're prettier, I'll give you that. Taller, brighter, but deep down, something's changed. Today on the Comic Book Report, Absolute Batman, Volume 1, The Zoo, by Scott Snyder and Nick Dragotta from DC Comics. Stick around and check it out. Greetings from Gotham, everyone. My name is Dominic, and today you're tuning in to the Comic Book Report, where we review comic books and graphic novels so you can get an idea of what to read. And today I'm excited to finally dive into the DC Absolute Universe. This is of course not to be confused with the Absolute DC format of books. No, this is a separate universe within the DC Universe that launched with brand new issue 1s and showcased some of our favorite DC Comics mainstays, but again in a different kind of alternative universe. Think something like the Marvel Ultimate Universe and you're not too far off. I've been wanting to check this out, especially with all the hype I've been hearing about a lot of these books, and I've also personally enjoyed playing in Marvel's new Ultimate Universe the last year or so, and I knew that DC, I had to just jump in and check it out as well. Enter Absolute Batman here. I was so excited when I heard they released this in a hardcover and a trade paperback kind of simultaneously, giving some format options for collectors out there. I'm honestly really excited to talk about today's collection, but before we do, I just want to shout out the channel's sponsor, Panel Bound Comics. If you're looking to pick up your own comic book collected editions, perhaps this very book, I always encourage you to check out their website. You can find a link for it in this video's description. If you see anything on that site you like, you can actually use my discount code at checkout, The Comic Book Report, to save $2 off of your order. Please note if you use my affiliate link or code to make a purchase, I will earn a small commission, but it's a fantastic way to support this channel. Thank you for considering. Now let's get started. First, some quick facts about today's collection. The comics in this volume are written by Scott Snyder, with art from Nick Dragotta and Gabriel Hernandez Walta. The comics in this volume were published by DC Comics beginning in 2024. The volume itself collects Absolute Batman issues 1 through 6. And finally, this is a standard size hardcover with robust matte paper stock, a glued binding, and a total of 192 pages. At this time, I'd like to go ahead and issue a general spoiler warning. I will be flipping through the contents of today's collection and commenting on plot points throughout. You've been advised. Okay, without further ado, here's our first dedicated look at the front dust jacket cover for today's release. So as I mentioned at the top, they did release this as a standard hardcover and a trade paperback, I believe simultaneously. I really like that DC is offering this because I know we have some paperback only collectors and of course some hardcover only collectors. So hopefully this will fit the bill with a lot of different people out there. As you can see, I went for the hardcover and I have no regrets. We have the title, creators, the subtitle of the collection, and of course the new DC logo with the all-in statement, kind of like the new all-in initiative. Now on the spine design, we do have a field of black predominantly. We have a little bit of gray up top, then Absolute Batman, and then the subtitle of this volume, The Zoo. We do have the last name of the creators, and then the DC new logo at the bottom. We don't have a volume 1 here at the bottom, but it is nice to see the title of the work. I don't know if this is to encourage people to pick these books up as they come out by arc and not be too discouraged by what volume number they're on or what they have or don't have. At any rate, I do think it is a sleek spine design. On the back cover, of course, we have some more art, which is always nice to see. We have publication information, kind of pricing, things like that. We have a blurb about the volume, and we actually do have the volume 1 here on the back. So it is nice that you still have that represented here on the cover, even if it's just buried here on the back of the dust jacket. And speaking of that dust jacket, I did want to spend one final minute examining it along with the rest of the exterior. So to do that, I'm going to actually remove the dust jacket. This time you will get to see the interior flaps. We have more blurbs about the collection, as well as another piece of Batman or art here, which I really like. I'll show you everything at a glance, and then shortly after that, we will transition to the hardback book itself. I really like what they went for the actual hardback. It's largely on a black book. It has kind of a glossy finish to it as well on the book. The front cover has a nice image of Batman, kind of mid-action sequence, which is really sharp. The spine, of course, has details about the volume itself. And then along the back, we have kind of the absolute Batman logo. I thought that this was really sharp and overall had a really great effect when I looked at it all. I just thought that this was a really sleek way to do this standard size hardcover, and I have no complaints. I think the graphic design for this collection on the exteriors is simply phenomenal. Okay, and now that we finished our look at the exteriors, I did want to transition for a moment for all of you prospective collectors out there to take a look at this book's binding. So it is a glued binding, and while I would have preferred sewn, I really don't have any issues with this binding. I didn't really have problems with it. There is perhaps a little bit of gutter loss, and my pages didn't lay down perfectly flat, but there was nothing that I was hindered from seeing, which I appreciated, and overall it read great, and I don't think these pages are going anywhere. And just for fun, I did already mention the new Marvel Ultimate Universe, so I thought I'd show a collection from that alongside this Absolute Batman. To do that, I have Ultimate Spider-Man Volume 1 from Jonathan Hickman and Marco Cacchetto. Really enjoyed that volume. I did do a full review of that on the channel if you're interested, but I'm just really excited to see what the big two publishers are doing lately. This is a really fun way to remix beloved characters in a way that feels fresh, and you just don't really know where it's going to go. That feels like there's so much more artistic freedom with these releases compared to some other stuff I've read from them lately, and I just am really enjoying the ride so far. Also, it really makes me wish that we got some of these new Ultimate titles in hardcover, and hopefully that's forthcoming sometime in the future. But I suppose, as always, time will tell. Okay, with all that out of the way, we can dive into the collection proper. After some end pages here, we do have a title page and then kind of a full 2-page title spread with the creators. Then we have a publication information page, and after that, we begin with the issue 1 cover. I really like this. There's brief information about the issue right on the front there, so you know where you're at, but it is a virgin cover, so it's largely textless and it showcases the awesome cover art. After that, we go right into the first issue of Absolute Batman. And of course, we proceed chronologically in this fashion for all 6 issues of this first arc for Absolute Batman, and wow, was this a fun ride. So if I didn't put too fine a point on it already, I should say again, this is a perfect place to start for new readers. This is not the mainstream primary DC Universe Batman. Rather, this Absolute Batman takes place in a whole separate universe, but I really liked that. I liked that we had a fresh take, and we didn't really know as much about these really familiar and beloved characters. Because of that, I was really on the edge of my seat a few times reading this, because I felt like even familiar characters like Alfred Pennyworth, the beloved butler, is really unrecognizable here in ways that I felt were very striking. Along with a lot of Batman's rogues gallery, which appear to be kind of childhood friends of Bruce Wayne, but I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself here. Let's go ahead and set the stage for this book, and I'll begin to do a brief plot synopsis. Again, this is a spoiler review, so just be advised I will be talking about the story in this book. So essentially what Absolute Batman does is it gives us a modern day Batman story, but we also get inklings of a new origin for Batman. Of course, we're familiar with the Batman tragically loses both of his parents in an alley to gun violence, and he takes up this crusade to become the Dark Knight. Well, we have similar shades of that here, although a little bit different. We actually have a traumatic moment where his dad is a school teacher and he has them all on a field trip at the zoo. Thomas Wayne, Bruce's father, is gunned down in a horrific act of violence. Bruce is of course traumatized and he goes on to become the Batman. But unlike the mainstream DC Universe counterpart, he actually doesn't lose his mother, Martha Wayne. Also, interestingly enough, because his father wasn't a doctor, he was a teacher, they weren't really an affluent family. They were middle or lower middle class, so he doesn't really have access to a lot of the fortune or funding that really we see as an earmark of the Batman mythos. And yet, this scrappy kid still grows up to become Batman in spite of it all, and with the presence of Martha Wayne in his life. You still get the feeling that he grew up kind of jaded with a lot of this kind of quest for vengeance on his mind. He honed his body, and in this way he became a bigger, bulkier Batman. He's also had to rely on his own ingenuity to create a lot of the tech involved in his Batsuit and his Batmobile, which I really liked as well. Interestingly enough as well, he also has a kind of circle of friends growing up. He's not completely reclusive, and that is partially with the urgence of his mother, Martha Wayne, but a lot of his friends we know are actual huge bad guys in the Batman universe. He's He's friends with people like Oswald Copperpot, the Penguin, Harvey Dent, Two-Face, Edward Nygma, the Riddler, and so on. We have a Selina Kyle in here as well, and a couple others like Waylon, I can't remember his last name honestly, but Killer Croc. Anyway, Bruce is friends with all of these guys, and while they are up to borderline nefarious purposes, none of them have become an outright villain quite yet, and I'm interested to see if the other shoe will fall there, or if they're all just kind of these morally gray allies throughout the rest of this series. So we have Batman making appearances, we have people kind of wondering if he exists or what the deal is with him. Again, he's bigger and bulkier, he has a gigantic bat logo on his chest, which we actually find out is the head of a huge axe he wields. His bat cape actually acts like weird wings that he can grab things with and crawl across things with, and it's just really tactile and interesting. I loved that. We also have Commissioner Gordon, kind of a mayor that is not publicly beloved at this time. You have the inkling that he was the commissioner, but now he's doing this thing. We actually have Martha Wayne kind of becoming his deputy mayor and trying to help on that end. As far as the antagonist or villainous force throughout this first arc, the Zoo, we really have Black Mask, Roman Sionis. Not only is he orchestrating a lot of this like kind of criminal empire dealings behind the scenes, he's taking out rival gang lords like the Falcones and the Maronis, but he also has this group of people in creepy animal masks that are basically just terrorizing the city of Gotham. As a kind of third external force, we have Alfred Pennyworth, who we find out is kind of this spy, black ops kind of person who's done all of these weird missions. He's sent back to Gotham to presumably handle the threat of these masked evildoers, but we don't really know exactly where he falls. His kind of handlers are telling him to take out Batman if he's able to, and ultimately we have Alfred basically trying to stop Black Mask's schemes while also trying to thwart Batman, but he's captivated by Batman. He learns he's Bruce Wayne, and we have a kind of cat and mouse, interesting what's going to become of this relationship dynamic to them, and ultimately they do kind of by the end of this volume become kind of unlikely allies, which I did like to see. As we progress through the first 6 issues of Absolute Batman though, we have interspersed throughout these flashback sequences where again we get a lot of the backstory for how Batman came to be, which I've already kind of filled in a little bit. We also get inklings or flashbacks with his childhood friends and his dynamic with a young Selina Kyle and all the influences that kind of helped form who this Batman is in the present day. We also have some interesting revelations with the Riddler, Edward Nygma, and this kind of AI-based robot he's building, and it's just interesting to see what Batman's contacts are, again in the form of some of his childhood friends that are, again, these morally gray. Are they villains yet? I don't know, but I like it. You know, not a lot of people know he's Batman, and he's just off doing what he has to do. We also don't have a central bat cave. Again, he doesn't have the resource, but he finds a lot of abandoned buildings to post up in. He has kind of underground sewer networks to traverse the city, and he has this giant kind of construction machine like Batmobile, which is all well and good. At any rate, though, we progress through the story, and it ultimately becomes Batman versus Black Mask and his kind of fiendish evildoers. He eventually tries to take him down, and Black Mask offers to buy him out, basically funding Batman to become everything we know he could be with all the financing. Batman takes the deal, but then in a twist of fate, burns all the money for everyone to see, basically, and it makes a bat signal, and he basically just goes after Black Mask. And I really like it. The epic conclusion is, of course, really satisfying. We have a lot of street violence, too, where a lot of these people in these masks are trying to just murder people on the streets, like Mayor Gordon and Martha Wayne. Both of them survive, luckily, and Batman is able to stop Black Mask, almost at the cost of his own life, before Alfred fishes him up, tends his wounds, and presumably we transition into the next story. There's, of course, much more to these issues than I was even able to let on here, but I hope you enjoyed my brief kind of look at it. I love the artwork from Nick Dragotta throughout this. I thought it was absolutely eye-catching and just incredible. We had a couple extras at the back, a variant cover art gallery, some sketches, and ultimately I am absolutely eager to see what's ahead. Maybe with Bane coming into Absolute Batman, I guess I'll have to wait for the volume 2. An incredible first volume for this new ongoing alternative Batman title, and I for one am here for it. All that's left to do now is to give Absolute Batman a grade. for an incredible Batman relaunch that really refreshes some of these beloved characters. The Comic Book Report is happy to give Absolute Batman Volume 1 The Zoo by Scott Snyder and Nick Dragotta an A-. I would consider this a modern must-read for Batman and a really fun first volume. It's perfect for new and returning readers alike, and I am grinning from ear to ear thinking about what the future may hold for this series with these creators attached. I'm a huge fan of Scott Snyder's Batman, and seeing his take on this Absolute Batman, I'm just over the moon. But these are just a couple of my thoughts on Absolute Batman. I would love to hear some of yours. Have you been following along with this ongoing series? Have you been reading any of the other DC Absolute titles? What do you think about comic book stories set outside of a mainstream primary universe? Let me know all of that and more in the comments section. And again, a huge thank you to everyone for taking this ride with me. Until next time, this has been the Comic Book Report. Please don't forget to give this video a like, those comments, and maybe share this video with a friend. Thanks everyone, and have a good one.